You guys have seen the news. We've all heard it. The food guide pyramid is new. And we're going to talk today about what that looks like, what we need to be paying attention to, and even how to hack our own pantry. Hey, Maria, how are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you, Daphne?
I love that we are dressed for the high holidays, as I like to call them.
Hello, carnival season is here. Yes, indeed.
Let the good times roll, right? So let's dig into this food guide pyramid. We had a new edition published for 2026. Any surprises for you? Anything that came up that
No, I'm not surprised by any of it. I felt very aware that a few things were happening over the past several years. I'm willing to say for the last 10 years, we've been seeing a change in dialogue around nutrition, really pushing for more of a clean eating, more carnivore talk, more raw milk, whole milk, embracing, this is with an asterisk, embracing farmers, asterisk because it's more about industry than it is about small farmers. We've been seeing this happen. And so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, especially a dietitian like myself. There has also been an ongoing dialogue about how food pyramid doesn't work. The food pyramid doesn't work. We haven't been using the food pyramid since, for almost 20 years. Actually, it was not utilized at all. So perhaps the biggest surprise is to the general public that we haven't actually been using the food pyramid. And to say that we have a new food pyramid is sort of goofy. I think perhaps what is disappointing is that the guidelines are not all that different, but they are being talked about as if they are groundbreaking and everything you know about nutrition is wrong and we're finally correcting it. And when you read it, it's actually not quite all that different from what we would say is good nutritious eating. It's just this visual that is really taking home this idea of we've flipped it upside down.
Well, politics finds its way into everything, doesn't it?
It sure does.
And we'll skirt that one today, just for today. I think it's really funny that common sense eating, right? Because that's what this is. This is common sense eating, that we should prioritize our proteins and our whole foods. Maybe the conversation really is around culture and, what sort of been common for us before. When you and I were kids, processed food was king, and it all came down to convenience, right?
Always, especially if you think about giving, especially a maternal parent,
Yep.
the ability to still feed your kids and go to work.
Yeah.
Processed food itself is not inherently bad. I think what we get unfortunately stuck in is the routine and the reliance on it, and what nutrition is missing when you rely so heavily on processed foods. Which for that, I do think that conversation remains part of this big, larger picture. For me, where I get a little stuck is like, if the conversation is around focusing on protein, where are the lentils? Why don't we see a single lentil on that pyramid?
Well
Why
said.
is it an entire chicken and an entire stick of butter? When we also have to consider that one of the greatest risks for disease and chronic conditions in the United States is heart disease. So we do have to consider saturated fats and things.
Yeah, we're learning, in so many ways, where there's a difference between processed foods and ultra processed foods. This is becoming a hot word because in reality, processing food is actually things like pasteurization. Like
Absolutely, yes.
We want to hold on to those sort of processing as a whole. So I think sometimes people jump on a bandwagon, or they jump on the internet, or whatever it is.
Yes.
And they have an opinion about certain ingredients, and well, that ingredient is also used in X, Y, and Z. And I said, causation, correlation, not the same in all these cases, but processed foods and ultra processed foods. If we are eating TV dinners to the point where the ingredients are no longer food because it needs to be about stability or shelf stability, then you are missing the boat on the nutrients. Like, why eat the food if it's really just causing what we know is malnutrition? Even our fast food options, even looking at the ingredients, right? What's going into those foods now as opposed to 20 years ago when we were kids, right? That even looks different. The way the ultra processing is happening for profit. Let's call it what it is,
It
right?
absolutely
We
is.
keep saying it's convenience and stability, but it's really profit at the end of the day. Fast food looks differently. So if parents are shaming themselves or like, oh, well, when we were kids, this was okay. It comes back to the conversation you and I had before where it's like, well, if you're skinny, you're healthy, right? You're skinny, you're healthy. And
Mhm.
you could also be malnourished, just for the record.
Yeah, absolutely, and we think about how kids pay the price, right? Kids pay the price of growing up without, enough micronutrients, enough certain macronutrients to be able to grow tall and to be able to grow strong, and then we layer in the fact that they're also hearing that skinny is healthy.
Hmm.
So it becomes this really rough, like you said, shame cycle. There's a bit of a morality complex of my kids, they don't even know what a processed food is. They're one of the recommendations is that your kids shouldn't have sugar until they're 10 years old. And like we have a whole mess of cycles here. There's shame, there's morality, there's goodness assigned to choices. And then we have, like you said, how much of this is just driven by industrialization, by making the products more affordably sent across the country in refrigerated trucks, more affordably in on a shelf without going bad. How much of industry, even agriculture, can be industrialized to make this food? We have so much food in our country. There's a
Yes.
lot of
Yeah.
calories available to the average American, but it might not be accessible to the average American. And so we still have hunger
Hmm.
amidst excess, amidst malnutrition, amidst people in all different sized bodies. Like it feels very complicated and an upside down pyramid. And
Yes.
just eat more whole foods, that's not going to even scratch that iceberg with a butter knife. It will barely chip it. So it's, I think,
Well
quite
said. Yeah.
performative. I think a lot of it is performative to say, look at all the change we're making. But when you go and you look at other elements of industry, you look at environmental protections, you look at the expectations on industry to hold certain
Mm.
standards,
Yes. Yep.
we are not seeing growth in that direction, but we are seeing a 10-page document rock the world of people when they think about nutrition, if they even had the time to read it. Most, I don't know if you know this, but 90% of Americans do not follow dietary guidelines and have not followed dietary guidelines as a concept, even though they come out
Yes.
regularly. They're not
Yeah.
something that the average American is like, oh, they're here. Let's read them as a family. Like that's not, it's not a thing. Gather
Oh,
round. Yeah.
well said. Well, this is the high holidays. I was gonna say with Fat Tuesday in our
Yes.
in our
Yes, here we
sight. So I
are.
was like, do you think most people do you think that's common sense for most people or not?
It's so interesting. I think it depends on, like, where you are in the world and where you are,
Okay.
class-wise even,
Yeah.
like, I think a lot of people know they need to eat more fruits and vegetables. But what I think is so lost is I don't think people know what proteins are and what fats are and what carbs are, and that there
Yep.
are foods that have multiple macronutrients. Um, People are quick to villainize rice, but they forget when's the last time you ate white rice by itself? And you're going to eat a lot more rice by
Right.
itself with
Uh-huh.
fat than you would if you had protein and vegetables with it.
It's so easy to lend to simple carbs or simple carbohydrates, right? Because we want to make sure there's a difference and people understand that
Yes.
fiber plays the role here. Fiber is
Mhm.
really what changes the dynamic. So we can get into the weeds on that one, but the reason you're not a bad girl if you had toast, you're not a bad girl if you had cheese and quesadilla. What is going on though is that your inability or your lack or or the know-how to like simplify a snack, your brain craves sugar. It is the most efficient fuel source
Yeah,
for your
absolutely.
brain. So if you are finding yourself constantly looking for short carbs or what I'm calling short carbs
Mhm.
or
I love
fast
that
burning,
phrase, short carbs.
I'm going to
Mhm.
call them short carbs. I love it. So as I say, if you are constantly throughout the day looking for short carbs, it's a lot of times being driven because this is the best fuel source for your brain.
Mhm.
So, if you have a special engine or special tank and you want to make sure you put the 95 plus in or whatever it is, your brain, the reason you're craving these sugars is not because you're a naughty girl or that whatever it is, it's just that your brain looks for efficiency. And when
Yes.
it's looking for quick, it's looking to stay awake,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
looking
focused.
for right, yeah, it's looking for that hit of a hormone, right, too. And it's also, like you said, looking for a way to focus. And the quickest way to get energy up to your brain is sugar, right? Is fast carbs. So you're not a bad person if your body is telling you to eat short carbs. What is actually going on is that you haven't really thought about it long enough. Because if you think about all the short carb snacks you're taking in, right? Those are also often packaged as 100 calories and things like that because we're thinking
Correct,
calories.
correct. Mhm.
We're not thinking about, like you said, the protein source. So instead of the quesadilla or the crackers or whatever it is, putting some peanut butter on there, which also has fats and also has
Sure.
sugars, and your brain is just going to love it just as much, I promise. Can we get into the practicality today? Are you up for this?
I would love that. I
Okay.
actually had this happen to me yesterday.
Go. Tell me
Okay.
more. Yeah.
So, at the beginning of the week, I prepped chia seed puddings in 5 different containers with some I took frozen mango, microwaved it, chopped it up, put it on top, and I was so excited about it. But of course, when your brain is tired and hungry, you forget. You don't have great memory recall. You're just like
Not when
in
you're
search of
tired. Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
My husband has brought home a different slice of king cake every night. Husband runs trivia after work at 4 different
Oh,
establishments.
wow. Yep.
And so he would bring home a piece and bring home a piece. When I parked my car, I had 30 minutes. And the first thing I thought of is, "Ooh, we have king cake." But it was 3 o'clock. I had a
Uh-huh.
coffee, so I scratched that itch. I knew I needed real food. I am a registered dietitian with a master's degree, and here I am going, "You got king cake at home," which is true. And
Mhm,
there's no
mhm.
shame in me having it. But I knew logically I'm still going to be hungry. My sugar's going to go up. I'm going to ride that energy, and I'm not going to have energy and brain for the session I was running at 4 o'clock,
Yes.
30 minutes later.
Yes.
So I go into the house and I felt a sense of relief wash over me when I was fortunate to remember
Mhm.
you made yourself a snack and it's in the fridge. You
Yes.
have chia seed pudding and mango, and there's a little condensed milk in there. It was delightful. It wasn't
Mhm.
too sweet, but it was still sweet enough to kind of like, I scratched the sugar itch, but I also got many grams of fiber. I got protein, I got fat, and I was level headed, focused, and could do my job, which requires a lot of talking and a lot of thinking and a lot of listening. And that costs calories. The practicality of having it available was
Yes.
life-changing, life-changing in that moment. Now those moments add up every single day for weeks and months at a time, and then we start to trust ourselves. I'm a girl who takes care of me. I'm a
Yes.
girl who has food available, because I've past me thought about future me. Like, that creates a sense of confidence
Hello,
in your relationship
self-care.
with food.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Self-care can just be stuck in your pantry, stuck in your fridge, right? Like,
100%.
you and I grew up in storm mornings. We grew up in Northeasters, right? We're Pennsylvania
Yeah.
girls. The Virginia right now, I'm in the DC area, is also, like, priming itself
Yeah,
for
bracing.
blizzard season, or as my daughter called lizard season. She was like, "Oh, we're gonna have a lizard." I'm like, "Wait, stop, what?"
Sure we are.
Yeah. So one of the things I do, and I try to go early like everybody else does, right, to the grocery store. But my mind's a little different, like because of our background. When I think
Yes.
about how I'm going to stock this pantry, it's really replacing the things for me that's already in the pantry, right? It's got to be something that I can cook a meal. And remember,
Mhm.
I have kids, so I don't always want to eat what I think is, nutritious and healthy. And I have to stock the pantry in a way that's shelf stable, right? But also something that they're willing to eat. So I like to shop in a way that probably I avoided the aisles that other people were avoiding. I'll put it that way.
Mhm, mhm.
When you I'm gonna put it on you first. We're gonna play a
Sure.
fun game of what's in Maria's pantry.
Let's do
Well,
it.
tell me what the things are that you're putting. So yeah, what are you putting in your pantry to make these choices like the chia seed, like the pudding available, whether it's hurricane season, whether it's snow season, or whether it's, a
Sure.
Wednesday after you've had a long day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one thing to consider is, do I have a gas stove or an electric stove? That changes everything, right? So my old house had gas, now I have electric. So if my power goes out, which it is likely to do if the wind blows too hard here, I have to have food that is readily available without cooking it. So something that I've leaned heavily on, and I know this is particular,
Mhm.
but canned fish, tinned fish. of
Tell
any
me more.
kind.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
realize it's not kid friendly, but I also was a kid eating anchovies. I was just, again, raised Italian. But sardines in hot sauce or in mustard, olive oil, lemon
Yeah.
sauce. I mean, they make all different types. Obviously, there's more than just sardines. There's obviously tuna and salmon. There's chicken. There's a lot of canned proteins that you look at them, and if you snub your nose at it, you're like, ugh, that's going to be gross. Give it a try outside of an emergency. Give it a
Hmm.
try on a regular Wednesday because that's going to help you kind of for the next time know, like, oh, I actually do like that. And you can have that on Triscuits. You can have that on a tortilla. You can have that on bread.
Yes.
You can have
Yes.
that in a bowl and, have a little like snack lunch, if you will. But I lean very heavily on canned proteins, and that includes canned lentils. What I really like about canned lentils is many of them are pull top or they're now in pouches and
Yes.
they are
Yep.
pre-cooked, pre-seasoned. Will it stink to eat it at room temp? Yes. And in New Orleans, it's beyond room temp if the air conditioning's out in the
Always.
summer. But that's going to ensure that you get things that your body needs. You're already stressed. Power is out, you're stressed, period. You don't have internet, you've lost access to communication with people. That's very stressful in 2026.
Yeah, it is.
So, having something that balances your blood sugar and feeds your brain with long carbs is extremely important. So, you can make thorough, thoughtful decisions about your family, about your kids, about yourself. You never know in a hurricane situation or even in snow. That snow starts to melt if you get a flood in your basement.
Yeah. Yep.
Emergencies happen, and we have to consider it's not just when the power is out, it's also when accidents happen and when things happen after the facts. I lean heavily on food that's going to really satiate. So, tinned fish, tinned proteins. I love lentils and beans so much. I wish they got a little bit more of a nod
I
in the dietary
agree. Yeah.
guidelines. But you can get them, and I'm not just talking about eating bland beans out of a
Mm-mm.
can. There are so many innovations in industry. Thank you very much, food
Yes.
industry, for listening and for
Yes.
meeting us where we are, which is can we have sofritos? Can we have pinto beans with
Yes.
a delicious sauce and peppers and onions? Can we have Wegmans is great for this. They have exceptional shelf stable food that is ready to go, ready to eat, very flavorful. So thinking about where can I get some starches? And I also think about, is this something I want you to have constantly all the time as a replacement to fruit? No, but this is the time for freeze dried fruit, dried fruit,
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
that with cereal. If you have kids that like milk, you can buy shelf stable milk. You can get the little Horizons at
Yeah, that's
Costco.
true.
Those are things that are always in my pantry at all times.
Yeah. I think that's a good that's a good benchmark too, is that these should be in there anyway, right? And
Yeah.
these are, by all means, food guide pyramid, healthy options, right? Because you're thinking about it. The great thing about a lot of pastas too, and by all means, choose the pastas that are not unbleached, right? There's my PSA, right? Take the bleach out of your pasta. But most dried pasta has a really good shelf life, and it's two ingredients, right? It's flour and water, or no longer water in that case, because the way pasta is now, there are a lot of different brands. There's a lot of ways that it can last longer because it's been dehydrated, right? So don't be afraid of pasta. Be mindful. Choose quality. Choose the ingredients. If you're seeing a lot more than one or two ingredients on your pasta, yeah, ask some questions, right? So we're not villainizing these things, and I have to tell you, socioeconomically and things like that, these are very available. So we're not asking you to go to the whole paychecks and like buy these things. These are things available to you. The other thing that sometimes we get into in the processing that kind of kills the availability is we are choosing fruits sometimes that are out of season
Mhm,
and
mhm.
also pre-cut. I don't know if you've fallen into that trap. Sometimes when you have kids, there's this lean to like, well, I don't even have time to cut this watermelon, right? Or
Mhm,
whatever the
mhm.
case may be. So one of the things I do, especially full or cold and flu season, you guys love these, I'm sure, is these little tiny
We love
guys.
cuties. Mhm.
And they actually have more shelf stability, right? Because they're
They
not
do.
cut. They're not already, they don't require refrigeration. And gosh, none of us want scurvy, right? I'm just joking. So you get a nice pack of
That
vitamin
too.
C in there with something the kids
Yes.
can actually play with and have fun, right? So that's a big deal. I love rice. There's a lot of different types of rice that you can have too. I'm going to show you some of the things that I hack my pantry with every day. Have you seen these cute little potatoes?
They're my favorite. I adore them so
Right?
much. I love them.
They don't require refrigeration, right? Like
Right.
they can sit on your shelf and sometimes too long for us because they've got extra
Big
eyes that
sprout.
grow out of them. But like the great thing is they're here no matter if it's a storm or a Wednesday night when you don't have time. And it's literally as easy as, and I want to make this simple for people, cutting these things in half or quarter, salt, olive oil in your oven. No,
Absolutely.
we talked about rice, and again, if you have kids or if you are as busy as we are, rice actually comes a little processed, right? Have you seen these?
Yes, there's many different varieties of parboiled, par cooked rice. Yes, even almost completely cooked. I love these pouches.
So these are so cool. This is one of my favorite things. And you know, be mindful about where you're buying them and things like that. But you literally put a little bit of water in. Again, if you've got limited abilities because of a storm or something else going on, this is something you could do, you know, and heat up over an open flame if you wanted. Same thing with the
Yes, over
potatoes,
boiling
right?
water. You can put those
Yeah.
pouches right in boiling water. Mhm.
This is a really cool thing. And the cool thing about this, and you tapped on rice and white rice and that sort of thing. Not all rice is created equal, but talk about some of the benefits that we get from things like brown rice and quinoa and things like that. And your kids don't know the difference unless you tell them. So don't turn your nose up at the it's there's this is where the protein comes in, right? It's that sort of thing. You can have protein really easily in these sort of like mixes because like you said, industry is listening. We want a little onion and black pepper with our with our
Yeah,
rice now,
give
right?
me a
Like
little flavor.
this
Right, right.
this makes it easy. So this is like no excuse issues. Like we can put a number of these bags, and I think some of these are shelf stable for 6 months, a year, depending on what brand and what kind you're using. And then, of course, beans, peanut butter. We talked about these. Here is the one thing that we haven't talked about.
Mhm.
This is the cheap and easy. I know you said mustard, which is one of my other favorite ways to like make something taste better really quick. On the shelf stable side of things, this is, and I'm not getting
Yes,
paid for this brand, but this is one of those like salad dressings that you have in your thing, but it also works like a marinade,
it goes
right?
on everything.
It literally goes
Yes,
on everything. So
yes.
no excuses. Put something like this in your pantry because you have the option. Like I said, throw it in the oven for 15 minutes. You know, like it
Mhm,
does not take a lot of work. And I'm being honest, as a girl who does not like to cook, I think this is what you were talking about with like these mixes
mhm.
of
Yes,
beans.
I love them.
What a great idea. This is already packaged for you
Mhm,
and it can sit on your
mhm.
shelf for like 3 years if you need to.
Yes.
I don't recommend it for every day, but this is our hack, right? This is the whole thing where we get into processed versus ultra processed foods, right? And we want to villainize them, but they really do have their place. They really do
Absolutely do.
benefit. What is the common sense that we can pull from this new pyramid? Like, what's the thing that you're seeing with
Hmm.
clients or the thing that you can really nail down for folks?
I think if I can take anything from it, it is probably that we are continuing to see that there is no escaping, that we need fruits and vegetables in order to meet essential vitamins and minerals. Essential meaning you do not make them, your body has to get them from food. They're still prominent. And there's quite a goofy rhetoric around you don't need fruits and vegetables. You don't actually process them. They're not necessary.
Oh, God.
I don't know
Okay.
if you see that, but that's a bit of a strange like the idea of these foods being anti-nutrients. Oh, they block absorption. I think I see that the emphasis is on whole foods, but what is not lost its place in the sun is Americans need more greens, they need more color, they need more fruits and veggies. And wherever it is that you stand culturally or dietetically or nutritionally with how much or what kind of protein you eat, I think it is very clear that we need fiber. We need nutrition from as much, color as we can get it to live a heart healthy life to the best of our capacity. I think that is at least something that has remained really clear that we're not seeing a decrease in recommendation for that. We're not seeing anyone say fruit is out now, too much sugar.
Yes.
And like while there is a lot of emphasis on, oh, well, how there's grains are so small and protein's so big, don't lose the common denominator that there's a lot of important, necessary nutrition waiting for you in fruits and vegetables. And I realize I sound like a classic dietitian telling you to eat your fruits and vegetables, but clearly what we're saying is not loud enough, not being heard enough, and not being practiced enough. And it's our job to help make that information more accessible.
Thank you for echoing that. I think that's one of those big things where we're looking for an excuse not to, right? In a lot of
Sure,
ways. So,
sure. I do
so
see that.
thanks for being the echo. It is so interesting that with freezing processes now, vegetables are more available and even
Yeah,
more available than fruits now. So
it's really cool.
you can get them in powder, you can get them in microgreens, you can sneak them into your chicken nuggets. Like just eat them. And I love that we came up with our own word, patent pending, that we are calling things short carbs and long
Love it.
carbs because there's no more shame connected with having a piece of toast with butter. It's just why sell yourself short when you could make the choice to put peanut butter on that instead of butter or whatever the case may be for you? Start thinking long term. And when you're, what we mean by that is support your brain, support your body. When you eat, think about the long term.
Yeah, think about future you. What does future you need?
I love it. All right. Always reach out to Maria. She is a lot of fun and she has the perfect energy. So even if
Thank you.
you're a little bit concerned or a little bit sheepish about asking questions, she is the most compassionate person to ask
Thank
these
you.
questions to. Let's reach out to her. And if you know somebody who is struggling with diet or exercise or not sure where to turn, this is your platform. So share this episode with a friend, especially since we're not shaming you. We want to support you. We'll
Totally.
we'll talk to you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.